Whenever you see those huge, highly orchestrated military parades in North Korea with all the soldiers and the cheering crowds, if you look closely, you'll almost always spot a woman, usually with just a faint smile, standing right behind the supreme leader. That's Yo Jong, the powerful and, let's be honest, pretty enigmatic sister of Kim Jong-un.
For years, she was just there, a constant presence in the background at these major events. You'd see her holding documents, maybe an ashtray for her brother, or just watching. The world basically saw her as a quiet assistant, a loyal and maybe even submissive sibling. But inside North Korea's super secret inner circle, she's a whole lot more than that. She is her brother's most essential confidant, a key strategist, and an absolutely vital part of his power structure.
But here's the thing. Experts from our source material have given her another title, one that paints a completely different picture: the world's most dangerous woman. That's a pretty shocking label for a face that so often looks so calm. So who is the real Kim Yo Jong? Is she just a quiet supporter, a ruthless political player, or maybe a future dictator? To figure that out, we've got to look at how a secret life of privilege and total isolation created one of the most formidable figures on the world stage today.
Okay, so to really get who she is now, we have to go back, way back to her hidden childhood and upbringing that happened far away from the palaces of Pyongyang and shaped her in some really profound ways. Kim Yo Jong was born the youngest kid of North Korea's second leader, Kim Jong-il, and the secrecy around this family is so intense, we don't even know her exact birth year for sure. Sources say somewhere between 1987 and 1989. She grew up in this lavish, totally private compound, completely shielded from the real world. Then, in the mid-90s, she and her brother were shipped off to Switzerland for Western education, all in complete secrecy. They lived in this kind of modest apartment in Bern, and the idea was for them to just blend in as the kids of Korean diplomats. So he was registered as Pak Un, and she was Pak Mi-hyang. And while they tried to act like ordinary students, their lives were anything but. Their apartment had North Korean officials and a team of undercover bodyguards watching them around the clock. It was right there, in those years of shared secrets and isolation, thousands of miles from home, that they built this unbreakable bond of trust that really defines their partnership today. So when she finally got back to North Korea, she didn't just fade away. Nope. Instead, she began this incredibly calculated and super fast climb through the ranks, basically becoming the unseen architect of her brother's entire public image. She gets her degree in computer science, and boom, she's in a junior role in the party. Her first real public sighting? At her own father's funeral in 2011. From that point on, her rise was just meteoric. By 23, she's her brother's tour manager, controlling all his travel and security. By 2014, she's a vice director in the super powerful propaganda department. And by 2017, her influence was so big that the US actually sanctioned her for her role in the regime's censorship and human rights abuses. And make no mistake, this wasn't some desk job. As the propaganda chief, she was the master architect of Kim Jong-un's whole personality cult. She meticulously shaped his image, his haircut, his hand gestures, his public persona, all to make him look and feel like their revered grandfather and North Korea's founder, Kim Il-sung. But that smiling diplomat, that wasn't going to last. Pretty soon, the Iron Lady would emerge, and the true nature of her power and her voice was about to be revealed for the whole world to see and hear. Her big coming out party on the world stage was the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea. This was huge. She was the first member of the Kim dynasty to even set foot in the South since the Korean War. And she launched this brilliant charm offensive. Her smiles and her soft-spoken style totally captivated the global media. She presented this surprisingly gentle face for the regime. Fast forward just 2 years, and that whole charm offensive feels like a million years ago. In her very first personal statement, she lashed out, describing South Korea not as a partner, but as a frightened barking dog. The mask was officially off. So what happened? Well, this all went down in April 2020. Kim Jong-un just vanished. Rumors were flying that he was super sick, maybe even dead. And right into that power vacuum steps Kim Yo Jong. That fiery statement she made was a crystal clear message. If her brother's gone, she is ready to roll. And when Kim Jong-un finally reappeared, was she in trouble? Nope. She got promoted back into the Politburo with even more authority. So now, her power isn't just this behind-the-curtain thing anymore. Her public statements have become one of North Korea's primary weapons, and she delivers them with a ferocity that honestly often seems to outdo her brothers.
And the language she uses, it's deliberately crude, totally insulting, and all designed to project pure strength. She calls people who escape North Korea scum and filthy insects. She dismissed the US president as an old man with no future. And she's called the president of South Korea America's hungry dog. And her voice is now, for all intents and purposes, the regime's voice. We're talking over 40 official statements issued in her brother's name, a job that historically was only for the supreme leader himself. She's not just an advisor anymore. She is the official mouthpiece of the nation.
So all this aggressive talk, this grabbing of power, it all boils down to one massive question. What's her endgame? And what could her leadership actually mean for the rest of the world? Well, according to the research, her path to power is paved with some seriously ruthless acts. She's said to have been the one who masterminded the 2013 execution of her own uncle for not clapping hard enough. She's been linked to the 2017 assassination of her half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, and in 2020, she's the one who personally ordered the televised demolition of that joint liaison office, which was supposed to be a symbol of peace. Now, this is where things get really fascinating. The analysis compares her to some of history's most notoriously ruthless female rulers, like China's Empress Wu Zetian or England's Bloody Mary. But, and this is a huge but, there's a terrifying modern difference. Those rulers, as brutal as they were, didn't have a nuclear button or total control over a technologically advanced, sealed-off society. Kim Yo Jong has both. And that's exactly why the expert consensus, including from some really high-level defectors, is crystal clear. She is the de facto #2 leader. If Kim Jong-un were to die tomorrow, with his own kids still way too young to rule, power wouldn't go to some committee of old generals. It would go directly to her. Which leaves us with the final and frankly pretty chilling question. The world has been debating how to handle Kim Jong-un for more than a decade now, but as his sister, who many analysts believe is even more ruthless, keeps gaining more and more power, the real question might just be, is the world ready for a female dictator with her finger on the nuclear button?